The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Henderson, Nevada, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32172. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting under the front bumper, you'll find two closed tow hooks. Moving up onto the face of the bumper, you'll find two electronic PA speakers and sirens. Moving just inward of that location, you'll find dual air horns. You'll also find in the center a drop-down hose storage location for access. Moving up onto the top of the bumper, on the passenger side is where you'll find your fire bell. Moving to the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving onto the body, you'll find your air inlet on the driver's side. Moving up, you'll find your headlight cluster. On the outer edge of that headlight cluster is your turn marker. Inside of that, you'll find your low and high beam headlights. Low beam is on the outer edge and the high beam is on the inside. Moving up from that, you'll find emergency warning lights. Up on the outer edges, you'll find your mirrors. The lower section will be flat. The upper portion will be convex, controlled from within inside the cab. On the brow, you'll find 5 running lights. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. And as we move up onto the top of the apparatus, the roof line, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located within inside the light bar, you'll find your opticom. Let's now move to the driver's side of the vehicle, where you'll find an emergency warning light on your front bumper extension. You'll also find a marker light at mid-level of the front bumper. You'll also find 2 auto eject plugs, which we'll talk about in a few moments, but let's move to the passenger side. You also have an emergency warning light on your front bumper extension. You'll also find this access panel, which we'll talk about in the next few moments. And then you'll also find at all points of entry for personnel grab handles on the sides. Let's move back to that access point. This is going to be your cab lift. There is instructions for raising and lowering your cab, in addition with caution and danger labels. Please familiarize yourself with this prior to executing the cab lift. Here's some close-ups of those images that we just talked about. This is your fire bell, headlight, and also your air intake. This is the drop-down access point of your front bumper. This gains access into an 1.5-inch discharge port. You also have top access. As we look to the auto eject plugs, this is the Kusmal auto eject. This is for your battery charger and shoreline inlet. Just behind the front tire, you'll find your transfer switch, which is for your AC. As we take a look at the mid section of your apparatus, this is your pump panel. We'll talk about some of the items within this area, but first let's start in the upper left-hand corner with a warning regarding entanglement hazard because of those hoses coming up above. As we look to the pump panel, at the very top, you'll find your pump intake. In between your pump intake and pump discharge, you'll find your vacuum and pressure test ports. And then to the right, you'll find your pump discharge. Moving down to the left area, in this red area, this is your foam system. First on the left, you'll find your foam instructions and also a template. To the right, you'll find your Husky foam system module. Further to the right, you'll find the foam tank A indicator for the level of foam in the tank. And then to the right, you'll find your transmission and pump hours. As we move to the right of this area, you're going to find this gauge, which is your transmission temperature. And then just beneath that, this will register all of your pump hours while pumping. To the right in the gray area, you'll find your engine information area. First, let's go around the edge here. This is going to be your oil pressure, water temperature, voltage, and also your fuel. As we move down to the very center area of this gray area, you'll find your tachometer.
Beneath the tachometer is where you'll find an audible alarm. This is the speaker for that audible alarm. On the left, you're going to find red indicators, which are your stop engine for oil pressure and battery. On the right, you'll also find some amber indicators in addition with red, but this is your check engine and fuel, and then water temp in red. At the very top, you'll find an amber light if necessary for check transmission. And as we move to the right into the gray area, you'll find your pump boss. This is your throttle pressure governor. Once your pump is properly engaged, you'll find the pump engaged light will illuminate. As we move through these switches, you'll find a panel light switch. Down below that, you'll find your air horn switch in red. And then beneath that, you'll find 2 spare locations and then one at the very top if necessary. To the right, you'll find your recirculating line and engine cooler. These are turn, not pull. And as we move down to the next section, you'll find all of your discharges clearly marked and color-coded. As we move further down, you'll find your Husky 3 foam system specifications. You'll also find your large diameter passenger side discharge. This is your green discharge on the passenger side. You're also going to find this placard. This is manufactured from Pierce. This is your test schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. Please check your owner's manual for that. As we look down to the bottom, you'll find only trained personnel should operate this fire equipment, and you should seek the use of your owner's manual. In the upper right, you'll find your flow minder totalizer. As we move to the upper right, you'll find your primer. This is a hail primer, and there are instructions just beneath that. Further down, you'll find your tank fill and tank to pump, and just beneath that, you'll find a module here for your RPM counter. Let's move all the way to the left-hand side of the pump panel. First, let's talk about some of the drains. This is your manifold drain, air supply, and air outlet. They are twist, not pull. To the right, you'll find an additional warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Be cautious when you open those discharge ports. They could have pressure. You'll also find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. This is that 150, 200, and 250 psi. Please seek your owner's manual for more information. Located in the center, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. And then to the right, you'll find the type of pump that you have, which is a hail. You also have an access door, which we'll talk about in just a few moments, but as we look across the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move to that access door, you can see at the very top, this is your foam drain. Moving down further in this image, you're going to find and locate the yellow handle. This will be for operations of your foam. Horizontal is for normal operations, and to fill, you would move to a vertical position. As we move to the left, you'll find a warning label here regarding foam failure and not to mix different product types and also consistencies. And then you'll find your draft, fill, and foam tank lever. Down in the lower right, you'll also find your driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female inlet. As we move underneath, you'll find your foam pump intake drain and also the foam pump discharge drain. These are drains for those individually labeled items. You'll also find your master drain. This is a twist, open and close. Up on top in the dunnage areas where you'll find your foam hydraulic oil reservoir. This is for your Husky 3. This is the foam system for the hydraulic pump, and the fill is on your right hand side. As we move once again up onto the top, the dunnage area, the back wall, you'll find this latch, which is available for holding up your cross leg cover. And as we look up onto the top of the cab, you'll find some warning labels here. This is a slippery surface and use caution. This is the unit for your AC when plugged into shore power. This will operate when plugged into shore power. You do have a generator on your apparatus. It's located in the dunnage area. As we move through the dunnage area, you'll also find your water tank, which is blue. Green will be your foam tank. Moving to the hose bed area, you'll find these yellow indicators, reflective tape indicating the edge of the walkway. Moving up into the first compartment, the left-hand side of the compartment, we'll start with first your Kusmal auto charger. This is when plugged into shore power. This will activate charging and maintaining your batteries. Moving to the right in the tan panel, you'll find G1, which stands for generator. This is your generator breaker panel. Moving to the right, you have instructions for your generator, and in the white panel will be the control module for your generator. To the right, you'll find the S1 panel, which stands for shore power. This will activate when plugged into shore power. Here's some close-ups of those images. First, on the left, your generator. Located in the center, you'll find your generator operations module. And to the right, you'll find the S1, which is your shore power breaker panel. As we move down in this compartment, you'll find your SCBA bottle storage location here. And then as we move outside of your apparatus, this is going to be just in front of the rear tire. You'll find additional bottle storage locations with safety straps. Moving to the rear tire area, you'll find bottle storage in addition with your ultra low sulfur diesel, which is the silver cap. And above that, you'll find the blue cap, which is a 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. Also located in the bottom, when plugged in or when using generated power, you'll find this 20 amp outlet active. As we move to the compartment just over the rear wheels, you'll find LED lighting inside and also adjustable shelving. As we move to the rear, you'll find a tray on the right-hand side as the access release to allow that tray to come out. Underneath, you'll find your wheel chocks located and stored in a folded position. As we move to the rear of the apparatus, first we'll start with your brake lights on the left and right. These are the red lights. As we move down to the bottom, you'll find your turn indicators at the very bottom. Just inside of that location, you'll find white lights, which will be your backup lights. And then just above that, you'll find an emergency warning light in red. As we move further up on the left-hand side of your vehicle, you'll find two cupped switches. We'll talk about those in detail in just a few moments. Moving further up, you'll find a combination emergency light and scene light at the very top. And then further up to the very top of the apparatus, you'll find red emergency lights. Also looking at the back of the apparatus, you'll find 4 external doors. We'll talk about those in a few moments and the contents within inside. Let's take a look on the left-hand side, which will be the driver's side. This is going to be a 2.5-inch rear discharge. Located in the center, you'll find your traffic advisor. Just above that traffic advisor is where you'll find your backup camera. Also, there are 4 fold-down steps in the rear of the apparatus, 3 in the lower section and 1 in the upper portion. Let's go ahead and look at some of those items close up. First, let's start with your hose bed lights and also your rear scene lights. These are the 2 cup switches on the driver's side. This is that 2.5-inch rear discharge. As we look inside the compartment under the discharge, you'll find a 10-foot attic ladder and 2 pike poles. Moving to the right, this is going to be your traffic advisor and backup camera. Moving to the passenger side is where you'll find your ladder storage. This is going to be a 24-foot 2-section extension and a 14-foot roof. In the middle compartment, you'll find a little giant folding ladder and then also backboard storage. As we look to the upper corner, you'll find additional tools and hose storage. Moving underneath in your center compartment, this is the location for your cord reel. This is the push button for reel rewind. This is a 200-foot 20-amp cord reel. As we move around to the passenger side, you'll find adjustable shelvings once again and LED lighting. As we move to the rear section of the rear wheel, you'll find bottle storage. Also a 20-amp outlet. This is when generator or shore power is active. To the right, you'll find once again some bottle storage and those secure straps. In that same compartment, we'll look to the very top. This is a generator or shore power outlet. This is a 20-amp outlet. In the very front compartment, you'll find a barrel-style 12-volt access point. And as we look, a little difficult to see in this image, although these are your exhaust. There is extremely hot exhaust temperatures. That's what this warning label is above that, and be cautious as to where you park your vehicle. As we look to the pump panel on the passenger side, we'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. Just beneath that, you'll find your green large diameter discharge. Further down from that location, you'll find your pump intake. There are 2 access doors here. We'll talk about those in just a few moments. I've got a few close-ups of those areas. As we move all the way up to the very top, there is a warning label here where the crossloads are. This is going to be for entanglement. Because of those hoses coming off above, there is the possibility for entanglement. You also have an additional warning label here regarding not riding on the side of the apparatus. There's possibility for fall. And then at the very bottom, you'll find once again that pressurized warning for pressurized caps. Be cautious when opening caps. As we look into the very top, you'll find access to the pump and also some of the modules here. As we look down to the lower section, you'll find your intake relief valve. This is the adjustment set screw for that. As we move down to the very bottom, once again that warning label, but I really wanted to point out is all your drains across the very bottom. There's also a tub storage location for hose down in the lower section and the midsection of your apparatus. As we move to the top, on the cab, you'll find a side-facing or telescoping light. Let's go ahead and go inside the cab now. At all points of entry, you'll find these warning labels. As I move down, you'll find at the hinge point here on the driver and passenger side, this red assistance strap. This assists firefighters entering and exiting the cab. You'll also find this warning light when the cab door is open. We'll go ahead and go through some of the compartments in this area. First, there's a center mounted compartment, adjustable shelves, and also shore power and generated power outlets. Underneath this compartment, you have a through compartment with 3 points of access, the front and both sides. Overhead, you'll find your David Clark headset system intercom, and located in the center, the white, is going to be your air conditioner when plugged into shore power. Located in between the two seats that are rear facing, you'll find an additional storage location. Let's go ahead and cover some of the air conditioning units, and first let's start with while operating your apparatus under engine power. This will be the black air conditioner. The white air conditioner cover will be when plugged into shore power. For convenience, you do have access without having to tilt the cab for all of your oil and transmission checks behind this cover. Let's move to the left. You'll find your Motorola unit head radio. Underneath the compartment, which would be about the right side of the operator, you'll find all of your fuse boxes. You also have in this general vicinity USB style 12-volt access. As we look once again to the driver's area, point of entry, you'll find these warning labels. Also, just to identify a few things, this is your pull cord for your bell. Moving up onto the door itself, you'll find your remotes for your windows and also your latch and red door lock. Let's go ahead and move back to the dash area. We'll cover some of those items. First, your computer module. You also have storage locations for materials. Overhead, you have an intense reading light. You also have your unit radio, which is your Motorola currently lit. To the left of this location is where you'll find your AM/FM radio and also weather band. Moving down at the dash area, you'll find your vehicle data recorder. We've now moved to the driver's side. Once again, point of entry, so we have those warning labels. You also have some seatbelt information. Your seatbelts are all red in color for easy, visible identification if someone is wearing them. As we look down about the right ankle area of the operator, we're going to find this placard. This is the yellow manufactured by Pierce Manufacturing for the city of Henderson, Nevada. This is your date of manufacture, job number. It also has your gross vehicle weight ratings, cold tire inflation, and also your VIN number. In the lower section, you'll find all of your fluid capacities for the components and fluid types. Let's move now to the seat area, where you'll find on the left-hand side your auto charge status center. When plugged into shore power, you'll find this will activate. To the right, you have an air inlet and also an air step pressure gauge. To the right, you'll find that protected switch, which is your step compressor master. Let's go ahead and look at the floorboard. This is the driver's area. You'll find your air horn and also a mechanical siren foot pedal. Just up at about knee height on the left-hand side, you're going to find 2 audible speakers. And then as we move through, you'll find all of your diagnostic information. First at the top in green, your engine ABS diagnostics, and then also your command zone. To the right, you'll find engine diagnostic and ABS diagnostic switches. Up from that, on the right-hand side, you're going to find your pump shift. You'll also find your master battery switch. For the pump shift, there are instructions for road to pump and from pump to road. Before exiting the cab to move toward pump, you have to have both green indicators on. You'll find on the left-hand side, you'll have your ignition start, and just above that, you'll find your headlights and parking lights, and then you also have a switch here for increasing or decreasing the light within your dash panel. Starting on the left, and we'll work across the bottom, you'll find your volts, oil pressure, DEF level, fuel level, transmission, and rear air, replying to the rear brakes. Across the top, you'll find your water temp, tachometer, speedometer, and front air. There is a placard on the upper right-hand corner. This yellow placard indicates your height, 11 feet 3 inches, your length at 33.5 inches, and your gross vehicle weight rating at 48,500 pounds. If you make any changes to your apparatus, please change this placard. As we start to the right of the operator, you'll find your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information available here at your fingertips. Beneath that, you'll find your system parking brake. Pull to apply your parking brake, push to release. And as we look to the left, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. You also have a few switches here. These are for your window controls, and also for your AM/FM radio, you have an on and off switch. Above that, you'll find your climate control. Moving just down, you'll find another set of rocker switches. This is your DPF regen inhibit, off-road traction, your mirror heat. You have an on and off for your engine brake, and then you have a settings switch for low, medium, and high for those engine brake. You'll also find your traffic advisor module. As we move just down and slightly to the right of that location, you'll find your generator start and stop. There are instructions just beneath that for operation. You'll find your 120 manual transfer, front flood, driver side, and passenger side floodlights. Also in that same area, you'll find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. Looking overhead of the operator, you'll find that intense reading light. But let's talk about some of the panel lights across the very front. On the left-hand side, you'll find your emergency master, roof light, front warning light, and side warning light. The next set of switches down, you'll find lower rear warning, upper rear warning, an opticom, and a high beam flash. Moving slightly to the right of this set of switches is an additional set of switches. This is your electronic siren, perimeter lights, rear scene lights. You have a future switch location. OK to engage the high idle, the high idle, future switch, and then in red you have a siren brake for your mechanical siren. Also in that same vicinity, you'll find your PA system and electronic speaker for your siren. General view looking overhead of the apparatus, you'll find your David Clark head system. Congratulations, Henderson, Nevada, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32172. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or any future questions about your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations.